So Ushba Tesoro did return here to the starting gates after standing already this morning, and he circled for 5 or 10 minutes, and then the gate crew did give him clearance. So they were waiting to see if he had to go in again or not. You guys alluded to the bumpers. This is what the bumpers or the pads look like. It literally is just a pad. They're very soft, and the horse kind of gets squeezed from that, and a squeezing sensation makes a horse feel a little bit more comfortable and comforted, and they were concerned about the spacing behind in the V once the gates closed. Well, when Ushba Tesoro was here earlier, they put him in the gate with the pads, and he did not like it. He still went into the gate multiple times, but as soon as those pads closed in on him, he was upset in the starting gate again. So they brought him back through, and they opted to put him back into a regular starting stall, and that was what seemed to be the magic key. The doors open and the tailgates closed, and very quietly and very gently. In fact, Ushba Tesoro multiple times backed up and waited for other Breeders' Cup horses to come in and school before they went in, because they wanted to keep everything very calm and very quiet. But he did get gate cleared, so he is good to go.
Okay, that last part, you have to be clear. Explain that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, if you come to the starting gate and you're from out of town and you school and you have a bad episode, the assistant starter or the starter will want you to come back and get okay. I mean, you can't, you know, have a bad episode at the gate in the morning, no matter how old you are as a horse and how many times you've raced, and then be cleared to run, because if something happens, I mean, it's just not the right protocol. So
okay, let's go back earlier to what Michelle was talking about. This is Ushba Tesoro, his first moment at the starting gate here. So far, looks good, and then that changes.
Yeah, as soon as they close the back door on him,
it's just different, right?
Yeah.
It's just a different feeling for him than what he's accustomed to.
So, I mean, watching this, is there any chance he's going to break well on Saturday?
I mean, I would be, if I was a trainer right now, I'd be very concerned. I mean,
here's a second look a little bit later in this gate schooling session. Ushba Tesoro coming back to try and load again. And Simon, I look at all the equipment on him here, and he looks like he's ready for medieval times, the restaurant.
Yeah, well, I mean, those blankets are very familiar in Europe. You never see them in the United States, Europe, Japan. I mean, where the weather gets cold, every horse in Europe has those blankets. So he's coming back for a second session. This was earlier today. Let's see how he does. This is just a bare stall, no pads. And I would think the assistant starters and the starter are very happy that they brought him back. Did Michelle say the front of the gate was open at this point? I think so. Maybe not.
She said when they started to lock him here.
See, now the gate's locked, and he's not sitting back against it. They're going to push him back and make sure he touches that and feels that.
But this is the one without the pads?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's totally different demeanor.
You want to put him in there, and they pushed him back to make sure he touched that. That's a lot better.
And the assistant starter was patting him on the neck and kind of reassuring him, so there was a certain comfort level all the way around, as opposed to each other time that he has visited the gate.
If he was my horse, I would bring him back every morning up until the race.
Oh, really? Still?
For sure. I would.
We also had a camera on the front of the gate looking back at Ushba Tesoro. So let's take a look at this angle, and there he comes through rather smoothly.
Yeah, and that's the key. I mean, a lot of them, when they're you know, agitated in there, they'll crack the front of the starting gate and they bounce out of there. I've noticed the repetition. He's improved with the repetition. First day really bad. Second time with the pads, that was something new. Now without, I mean, if he was mine, I'd bring him back. I mean, it's up to the trainer, but I would bring him back tomorrow and probably the next day.
Michelle, you have to admit, it is a marked improvement from what we saw on Monday, right?
It was definitely an improvement, because he actually went into the starting gate on multiple occasions. But I am concerned that from what I saw, they didn't close the gate. So at one point, either the back or the front was always open. The only time they got him in the gate and closed both is when he had that little freak out when the bumpers were on. So like Simon said, if it was me, I would bring him back. And they did bring him back here waiting to hear if they had gotten the approval. But once they got the approval, they opted not to school again. But we have seen them kind of handle him very delicately as far as not wanting to make him too upset. So maybe we'll have another schooling session on tap tomorrow. We'll make sure to catch up with Kate Hunter and find out. Other Breeders' Cup